Hey guys, it's Caden. Welcome to another Autism Digest interview, where today we have someone who I'm really excited to talk to. This one's been 5 months in the making. He is the creator of the first preschool show to have an autistic main character, Carl the Collector, the amazing Zachariah OHora. Thanks for coming on, Zach.
Thanks for having me, Caden. It's a pleasure.
All right. I think if people watch PBS Kids or have little kids, they definitely recognize your name. But for those that may not know you, do you mind summarizing a bit of your story in your own words?
Sure. Yeah. I'm an illustrator and a writer of picture books for kids of all ages, and a show creator of Carl the Collector, which is the first show I think anywhere, but on PBS Kids, with the lead character is autistic, and there's various other neurodiverse characters on the show, all in the form of really fuzzy animals living in a town called Fuzzy Town.
And that's a really good summary. I had a chance to watch one of the episodes, and it's incredibly powerful, which
Thank you.
transitions beautifully into my next question. What inspired you to create Carl as a character, and how did the idea for Carl the Collector first come to life?
You know, the Carl the collector, excuse me, Carl the Collector is a character of mine that I had originally created for a picture book, and I just really got obsessed with raccoons, and I'm always looking for like the next cute animal obsession for a book idea, and originally he was just kind of like I was playing on a joke of like raccoons, washing their hands before they eat stuff or whatever. And I was like, oh, that kind of feels like that could be a little OCD or something. So he kind of started out as a character that was like a little OCD, and he also liked to collect things. And then that kind of evolved when my kids went to school. They started school in an inclusion school, and I do a lot of school visits. So I see a lot of different schools, but I hadn't been to any inclusion schools. And what that means is that no matter what any kid's needs are, they are in the classroom with the rest of the students so that everyone can have the same amount of, like, social time and teacher time and classroom time, no matter what your needs are. And what I noticed, with my kids was that they were friends with everybody in their class, and they didn't really make any distinctions, whatever anybody had going on with them. They were all their friends. And a kind of a light bulb went off to me where I was very different from how I grew up. That if kids at this age have more exposure to, neurodiversity and just the different, types of humans that they're going to encounter in life, it'll take some of the mystery and some of the stigma and the unknown out of it, and everyone can get to know each other, and I really realized that that's how it should be. So that really informed the show being created for kids, entering school age.
And that's exactly what we need in
Yeah.
children's media nowadays. I have several younger siblings, and the big thing they're into now is brain rot, which are these characters that don't make any sense and are easily generatable with a computer and a chatbot. So,
Right.
that's exactly what we need: more inclusion and common human decency in the media.
Exactly.
Which transitions into my next question for you. How did you approach making Carl relatable to both autistic and neurotypical children?
Yeah, so like the idea from the beginning was just to show kids the way they are, like not beat anybody over the head with, how anybody should be or act, but just to show it in the way that naturally like kids would interact and get to know each other and misunderstand each other. Um, so it's a show that focuses on neurotypical and neurodiverse characters, and it has a neurodiverse lead, but it's really just about all the things that we all encounter, especially like moving from just being around your family and then, going to school and sort of entering the larger world, and how do you navigate that? And how do you navigate things when they don't go your way? That basic human stuff. So it's for everybody.
And that's, as I said, what we need in media nowadays. Something for
Yeah.
everybody that doesn't cause division and that doesn't have an agenda, which
Right.
leads to my next question for you. Carl has a love of collecting. What made you choose collecting as a special interest, and how does it help tell stories? You touched on that a little bit earlier, but do you mind expanding on that a little bit more?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'm a collector myself. You can see in the background, I've got a few records. I've got probably a few thousand records I've been collecting for decades. I collect all kinds of things. Even when I was a kid, I loved collecting, cards and comic books and all kinds of stuff. And when my sons were young, they got the collector bug as well. And there was a point where my son Oscar, we were just collecting containers for future collections that didn't exist, which I thought was hilarious, but also like I was very encouraging of it. It was like, yeah, you should have an organized, you know, uh, shelf with like drawers that you could, potentially like put the things that you want in there. Like I understand how exciting that is. And I think that like I think it's a natural human thing for everyone to collect, and I think it is a window into understanding people. So like when you talk to someone new and you find out something they collect, it can tell you a lot about them, and I find that that's like a universal thing that's just interesting about all humans.
I absolutely agree. I'm a bit of a collector myself. I collect spicy items and hot
Oh,
sauces,
really?
which are honestly my favorite
Nice.
thing. So I feel bad. Which leads to my next question. What
Sure.
feedback have you received from autistic children and their families about Carl the Collector?
The feedback has been like overwhelmingly positive and heartwarming and moving. I get a lot of DMs from parents who have young kids who the kid loves the show and loves Carl and wants to be Carl for Halloween and then they'll say, the kid will came up to us and said, like I like, I'm a lot like Carl and I think, maybe I'm autistic and often it'll be the case that the parents, the kid was diagnosed at a young age, and then the parents maybe weren't sure how to talk to their child about it. And they were able to have a conversation because of the show, and it was shown in a positive light. That enabled the parents to sort of have a starting point to have a discussion. And the kid understood it from the show as well that, here was a positive portrayal of someone like them that they could relate to and feel good about. So overall, that's just been, I get those stories in my inbox like every week, and it's pretty intense. It's a lot more even than I really thought it through that it was going to be, but it's pretty cool that that's happening.
Yeah, definitely sounds cool, and I'm glad the show was able to make such an impact, even though it's been around for only 2 years at this point, maybe for
Yeah.
three. Which leads to my last question. Speaking of, what does the future hold for you in the series? Could we see a Carl the Collector movie in the future?
I would love that. We got a lot of things, in the works. We still have, this is season one. We have, I think, 23 episodes, 23 half hours out so far. I think we have another maybe 16 that haven't been released yet. They'll be released in batches twice a year, April and November. April for Autism Acceptance and Awareness Month, and November just because that's another good time of year to dump some new episodes. So we've got episodes coming out between now and 2028. We're trying to pull together a season two right now. We're working on those possibilities and other avenues, maybe some Carl books. And I mean, I would love to do a Carl movie, but we'll have to see if that happens. But at some point, that would be fantastic.
It definitely would be, and I look forward to seeing it in the future.
Uh,
Anyways, that's going to do it for this interview, guys. Thanks so much to Zach for coming on and sharing his perspectives. If you guys want to see more amazing interviews, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Autism Digest channel. Pick up our next issue or our current one. Our next one comes out next month. You can get that by going to autismdigest.com and stay tuned for the audio file to be posted on our Spotify. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.